Okay, let's jump right in. There's a massive shift happening in the business world right now, and it's not some far-off, futuristic idea. It's happening today, it's being driven by AI, and it's creating a totally new kind of company that is changing all the rules. So we're going to dig into what that actually means based on some really fascinating work by Marco Anciti and Kiram Lakhani. So, to really get a grip on what this new kind of firm looks like, let's talk about a company that is already rewriting the playbook for its entire industry.
1 billion. That's how many customers a company called Ant Financial had back in 2019. And get this, it only took them 5 years to get there. Just to put that into perspective for you, that's more people than the entire population of North and South America combined.
But here's where it gets truly wild. This is the part that just bends your brain a little. Ant Financial is serving more than 10 times the customers of the biggest banks in the US, but they're doing it with less than a tenth of the employees. I mean, how is that even possible?
Well, the secret is pretty simple, and it's right there. AI runs the show. When it comes to their most important jobs, like approving loans, giving financial advice, even authorizing medical expenses, there aren't any human managers in the way to slow things down. By taking those human bottlenecks out of the equation, Ant Financial can grow at a scale that traditional companies can only dream about.
So how exactly do they pull this off? Let's peel back the layers a bit and look at the engine that's powering these new digital giants. The authors have a great name for it, the AI Factory.
The AI Factory is really the heart of the whole operation. You can think of it like a machine that's just constantly gobbling up data from everywhere, and then using that data to make decisions that run the business automatically. It's the factory that decides which ad to show you on Google, what song to recommend next on Spotify, or, in Ant Financial's case, whether you qualify for a loan.
And this factory has 4 key parts that all work together. First up, you've got the data pipeline. That's like the supply chain, bringing in all the raw material, which is, of course, data. Second, you have the algorithms. These are the machines on the factory floor, crunching that data and making predictions. Third is the experimentation platform, which is basically your quality control, constantly testing and improving everything. And finally, you have the infrastructure, which is the building itself, connecting this whole system to you, the end user.
Now, here's a really important point. We are not talking about some sci-fi, self-aware superintelligence like you see in the movies. Nope. Most of this is done with what's called weak AI. These are systems that are just incredibly good at doing very specific jobs that people used to do, but at a speed and scale that no human could ever match.
Okay, so this brings up a huge question. What happens when this new, superpowered business model goes head-to-head with a traditional company? Well, the authors call that a collision.
And the reason the collision is so intense is because AI completely rewrites the basic rules of business. You know, for a traditional company, as you get bigger, you eventually hit a wall where it gets harder and harder to grow. But for an AI-powered firm, the value can just keep on climbing. Their scope isn't stuck inside company departments. They can plug into other digital businesses seamlessly. And maybe most important, their learning isn't slow. It's this incredible, self-improving feedback loop that just gets smarter and smarter.
And that is the collision. See, it's not just about a cool new product coming along. It's about a fundamentally different and, frankly, superior way of operating that can just roll over traditional companies.
And you know what? You've seen these collisions everywhere. It's Amazon versus the old way of doing retail. It's Ant Financial versus the banks we grew up with. It's Uber and Didi versus the entire taxi industry. This pattern is playing out over and over again, and it's reshaping our whole economy.
So, if you're working at an established company, this probably sounds, well, a little scary. So what can you actually do? The answer isn't just to go out and buy some AI software. It's about completely redesigning your organization from the ground up.
And the number one enemy of this kind of change, the thing that will kill this transformation dead in its tracks, is something that exists in almost every big company: organizational silos. You know, when every department has its own data, its own code, its own way of doing things, it's just impossible to build that connected digital core that an AI factory needs to run.
So, to break down those silos, the source lays out this 5-point game plan. It all starts with one strategy so everyone is pulling in the same direction. Then you need a clear architecture to make sure data can actually flow between departments. You have to get the right capabilities. That means hiring data scientists and engineers. You also have to move to an agile product focus, where you treat your AI systems like products that you're always making better. And finally, you need new multidisciplinary governance to make sure you're managing all of this responsibly.
But you know, this whole transformation, it's not just about technology or new business models. It also creates some really deep new challenges, not just for leaders, but for all of us, for society.
Yeah, I think this quote really says it all. When you remove all the friction, all the brakes from a system, things can get out of control fast. A digital signal, whether it's a great ad or a piece of dangerous misinformation, can reach billions of people almost instantly. What looks like a marketer's dream can very quickly become a citizen's nightmare.
And this new kind of power creates a whole new category of risks that leaders have to manage. You've got algorithmic bias, where AI accidentally learns our worst prejudices and makes them even worse. You've got the threat of massive-scale cyber attacks. We're seeing market concentration, where just a handful of these huge hub firms have enormous power. And of course, there's the very real risk of social dislocation, as automation continues to change what it means to have a job.
Which really leaves us with this final and I think most important question. The big challenge isn't about what technology can do anymore. The real challenge is deciding what it should do. And that, right there, is the ultimate test of leadership in this new age of AI.